So first of all, I'll brief you people quickly what we did in the last class. So here I got MySQL database server, and in this database server we got this product table with its product records. You see, in the product table we have the details like ID, name, product name, description, and price. So what I want to do is here I would like to add a product record from the Java application to this table. Okay, I would like to add a product record here to this Java application from the product table. Sorry, to this product table from the Java application. So in order to do this here, we use JDBC API. So this is where your JDBC API comes into the picture. Yes, fine. Before that, what I did is here, I have defined a product class. See, I made it a Java bean. You'll find that this is actually a Java bean here. This is a Java bean class, if you can check this. So in the product class, we got these fields like ID, name, price, and description. So each property here will use it to store a column value. Okay, yes. Each property in the product class, it represents a column, I can say. So as I told you people, you see, uh, in Java, always we represent the data in the form of objects, right? Java objects. That is how we represent the data in Java. Java objects is the data representation which we use here in Java, whereas on the database side we use tables. On the database side we use tables, records. It's a record. Each record represents one product entity, I can say. Yes. So to represent the data appropriately in here in Java, I've defined this class, product class, which represents the product records, I can say. Okay. Yes. So people who have just joined, I'm just reviewing what we did in the last class. Okay. Now our aim is to add a product record to this product table. Our aim is to add a product record here to this product table. So for that, what we'll do, yes. So we'll be using JDBC API for this purpose. So, and as I told you people, we have to follow the sequence of steps first. Now, we'll be loading JDBC drivers. What are these drivers? You'll come to know more about this driver soon. As of now, for time being, you can think of these drivers as mainly used for connecting to the database server. They'll help us to connect to the database server, I can say, with JDBC drivers. We'll be loading this drivers here this way using this for name method. So basically we're loading a class, driver class, you can say. What is the driver class name? Driver. It is in this package forg.gjd.mm.mysql. So you will discuss more of these drivers. Soon you will come to know about it. As of now, try to understand that drivers will help us to connect to the database server. Yes. Next, now we have to establish the connection with the database server. That is the second, the most important step here. Yes. Now, this is where your JDBC API comes into the picture. We are using a class, a predefined class called as driver manager. Okay, we have written this code in the last class. Driver manager It is from java.sql package, which helps us to establish the connection. You see, in the driver manager class, you got this method called as get connection. You got this method called as get connection. So this get connection method, it takes this database details. You see, this is a connection URL which refers to the database. So before you connect to the database server, you have to make sure that you have that database details appropriately. Okay. Yes, you see JDBC colon MySQL means it indicates that we want to connect to the MySQL database server. Localhost, it indicates that the database server is within the same machine. It is hosted on the same machine. Okay. You find that the database server is hosted on the same machine. Next, you see 3306 is the port number, the default port of MySQL server. Similarly, you will find that here for each database server, you'll have an appropriate port number. Okay, for Oracle, you will have a port number. For DB2, you'll have a port number. For SQL Server, you'll have a port number. So this port number will vary from database server to database server. Next, followed by this port number, we have this test. It's a schema. Schema means it's a collection of tables, similar tables. In database, you see, schema is used to group similar tables, views, procedures, and functions together. You see, I have a schema called as test. In the test schema, what you have tables, you have views, you have stored procedures, you have functions. So this is what a schema is all about. You see, in the schema, you have tables again. You have all the tables. You can have views, you can have stored procedures, you can have functions and all. Okay. Yes. So now here, this is what we are specifying the schema name. So we want to connect to the schema in this database server. Next, you see, the second parameter is the username. Root is the username. This is username. Database username. So always database servers are highly secured, so you have to provide the username and password. We have the password here. Yes. So this way you will be providing these details with the get connection method, and get connection method will take these details. Okay, the database connection URL, the username and password of the database, and it will try to establish the connection. If this get connection method is able to successfully establish the connection, then it returns the connection object here. It returns a connection object. Yes. Okay. Yes. So once you got this connection object, you see now you can use this connection to interact with the database server. So what is our aim? Yes, we want to add a record, insert a record into the database server, right? Product record. So into this product table, I would like to add a record. Now one thing, how do we talk to the database server? You see, database server can only understand one language. What is it? SQL. So how do we talk to the database server? We use SQL. Structured query language. So you will find that here this SQL for our Java applications, it is just a string. But your database servers, they can only understand this. This is how you will, instruct the database server to do something, to add a record, to fetch a record, to update a record, to delete a record, whatever you want. Okay. Now let's write a SQL query to instruct the database server to add a product record. So what I'll do is here, I'll just write that query here on top. Insert query, insert into test.product, the column names product underscore ID, product underscore name, product underscore price, and product underscore description. So what I'm doing, I'm specifying the column names. So into these columns, you would like to add the values, add the values here, yes, which becomes a record. So what will be the values? You see, values, I'm not hard coding them here. In place of that values as of now, I'll just add this question marks. We call them as bind parameters. This question marks which you're looking at here, basically, what are they? We call them as bind parameters. So what are bind parameters? You see, here bind parameters, I can say that are placeholders which we can replace them with values at runtime. Yes. Okay. Bind parameters, you'll find that here. The bind parameters are placeholders which we can replace them with values at runtime. Yes. So, and bind parameters, you'll find that they are index based. Bind parameters are are index based. So each bind parameter has got an index, or you can say position, and it starts with 0. Okay. Yes. So you see, the first bind parameter, it will be at index 1. I'm sorry, not 0. In Hibernate it is 1, 0. Here it is 1. Okay. Even in Hibernate you will come across this bind parameters. There it will be 0. Here it is 1. So it starts with 1. See, you'll read that index value from left to right. Okay, you'll read it from left to right. So first bind parameter index is 1, second one 2, third one 3, fourth one 4. That's it. Okay. Next, we got this query. Okay, so you can construct the query beforehand itself, and we can just make it available. Now, what you'll do, we have established the connection. What is the next thing? You have to establish the connection. Okay, let's see how. Sorry, we have done with establishing the connection. Now we have to execute this query. So how will you execute the query? Let's see. Just a second, please. Just a second. Yeah, okay, I'm back. So, yeah, I'm back. So here, you see, in order to execute that query, we have to use an object called as prepared statement. So in step 3, now you'll write the code to create a prepared statement object. Okay, create a prepared statement object. How will you prepare create a prepared statement object? You see, connection dot prepare statement. See, in the connection object itself, you'll find that method called as prepare statement. Not prepared, prepare. Just prepare statement. You see, you have to also pass that insert query which you want to execute. So what is the purpose of this prepared statement object? You see, prepared statement object, it is actually used to execute this query. Using the prepared statement object itself, we'll execute the query. Now this prepared statement method, it returns a prepared statement object. Yes. Remember, you have to import this prepared statement connection driver manager from java.sql package itself. This is your JDBC API. Okay. When I say java.sql package, that is nothing but your JDBC API. Okay. Yeah. So now we have this prepared statement object. Okay. Sorry. You see, what is the next thing we have to do? It helps this prepared statement object. It helps us to execute the query, right? But there is something which is missing in this query. So what is missing in this query? Can you people tell me?
Input parameters.
Yeah, the values here, right? The product details in the query, we have to add them with column values. What values you have to insert here? What data you want to add? So we have specified the column names here in the query, but what values you want to assign to that columns? That values are missing here. So you see, in place of that values, we have used bind parameters. Now what we need to do is here, we need to replace that values. Sorry, we have to replace this bind parameters with that values. As I told you people, this bind parameters basically, they work like placeholders. So which we have to replace them with values here. Yes. Okay. Yes. So how will you access this bind parameters? What you understood? Using
Setter method.
using the index position, right? So for each bind parameter, we got an index. So you will access this bind parameters using the index value. Yes. And yes, of course, we need setters also. What you said is right. So we need setters here. We have setter methods which we can make use of to access this bind parameters, I can say. Okay. Yes. So the positions 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the positions. Now you see the first bind parameter, it corresponds to which column? The first bind parameter.
Product ID. Product ID.
Product ID. Yes. And the second one is product name. Third one is product price. And fourth one is product description. This way. You see, this order is important. Remember this order. In the same order, you see, you have the corresponding bind parameters. Now before we execute the query, we have to replace this bind parameters with the values. How will you get the data? You see, to this add product method, that product object is passed as input and product object reference is passed as input. Product object reference is passed as input. Yes. So here, let's try to access this bind parameters, okay, and assign the values to that bind parameters. So how will you do that? Using this prepared statement object. Prepared statement dot set. Now you have setter methods in the prepared statement to access the bind parameters. But you know what? Here we have to use an appropriate setter method. So basically, the setter method, it depends on the type of value which you are assigning. So what value you are assigning here to the setter method? Sorry, to that bind parameter. It depends on that value. You see, the first bind parameter, it is product ID. It is for product ID, right? So the product ID is integer type. So in order to assign the value, integer value to that bind parameter, you have to use set int method here. Set int. Okay, set int. So call the set int method and you can pass the index. What is the index? 1. So the index of the bind parameter. And now you have to assign the value to this bind parameter. From where we'll get the value? You see, in the product object whose reference is stored in this reference variable. So when the add product method is called, the product object reference is passed. So we'll use the reference to read that data which is in that product object and assign it to this bind parameters. Product dot get ID. That's it. Similarly, prepared statement dot, you access the second bind parameter. It is string type. So I'll use set string method and we'll access the second bind parameter using the index of position 2, and then you read the value from the product object. Product dot get name. And similarly, access the third bind parameter. It is for price. You see, set float. Price is float type. So you set float method. Index is 3. And I'll do this. Product dot get price. Next, prepared statement dot set string of description. That's it. Get description. So this way you can access the values to this bind parameters. Okay. So have you noticed it? You see, based on the type of value which we have to assign, we'll use an appropriate setup method, which are defined in this prepared statement object. Yes. Now once you're done assigning the values to this bind parameters, you can execute this query. Now this query is ready. In the query you have that values now, I can say. In the query we got this values. Yes. Let's execute this query. To execute this query, we got a method here in the prepared statement object itself. called as execute update. So now this execute update method will execute that query. So where did we specify the details about the query, how the prepared statement is aware of the query? You see, while creating the prepared statement object itself, you see, you're passing that query. So we'll call prepare statement method, right? So to that method itself, you're passing that query. So I can say that now that the query is in the prepared statement object. Now we are instructing by calling this execute update method on the prepared statement object. We are instructing the framework to execute. Sorry, we are instructing the prepared statement object to execute this query by calling this method. Now you see this execute update method, it always returns an integer value. It always returns an integer value. So this integer value, it indicates the number of records which are updated as a result of executing this query. Okay. Always executed update method, it returns an integer value which indicates the number of records updated as a result of executing the query. So in this case, how many records will be updated as a result of executing this query?
One record.
Yes, only one record. That's right. Exactly one record. So this method now it is supposed to return 1. So if it returns 1, then I can say that here the record is added successfully. And I can say that the record is added successfully here. So I'll check that value. You see, number of rows updated. We'll check this value. So if number of rows updated, if it is equal to 1, then I'll print a message that records added successfully. Yes. Sorry, record added successfully. Record added successfully. That's it. Okay. Now after we are done interacting with the database server, so you have to close the connection. Okay. You have to close the connection here. Yes. So yeah, I have a question in this regard. So where you will write the connection closing statement, you have to release that resource, right? You have to release the resource connection closing statement. Where you will write it? In the finally block. That's right. Okay. You need to write this code in the finally block. Yes. So, but actually we have a better option than this. We did discuss about it, right? But we'll go through it later on. As of now, let's use this finally block to close the connection. Okay. Let's do that. Here, I'll write this code finally. Before that, make sure that the connection reference variable is declared outside of the try block so that it is also visible or accessible in the finally block. Yes. Okay, you see, that's right. Now, first of all, I'll check whether that connection is not null. It should be not null. While establishing the connection, if you have any error, then the connection will not be established. Connection reference variable value will be null. So that is what you need to check for. You need to look for. If it is not null, then you can close the connection. Call the close method. So this close method also throws a checked exception. So what you will do, use throws clause for the method. Add throws declaration for the method. That's it. Throws SQL exception. So this is what you need to do. Yes. So our method is ready. You can just walk through this code once. All of you check this code. Okay. Now let's try to test this code. I'll try to test this code. First, I will create a product object with some data in it. See, we have the record still 222. I'll delete this record. We have the record still 212. Okay, I'll add a new record with the name with the ID 213. Let's say React.js. It's a book 30. Say book. Now you see, we have some product details in this product object. So I want to add this product object state. I want to add this product object state to the database table, to that product table, I can say. Object state means the data. Okay, when I say object state, that means we are referring to the data. Sorry. So the data which is in that product object, I want to add it to the database table, product table. So we'll call that add product method, which we have defined. It's a static method. So you will pass that product object reference. That's it. That method throws an SQL exception now. You can use try catch or use throws clause. That's it. You see, I'm calling that add product method by passing the product object reference in which you got this data. In the product object, you got the data, right? And this method executes accordingly. So it will take that product object reference. It constructs a query, insert query, it loads the drivers, and then it establishes the connection, creates a prepared statement object, and you see step 4, I didn't mention it, I'm sorry. Step 4 is executing the query using prepared statement object here. Yes, right? It executes a query. That's it. So let's run this code. Okay, so you got a message. It says the record is added successfully. Yes. Okay. So let's check whether you got this record in the database server or not. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yes. Now you see, we got this new record here. So this is how we can interact with the database server with the help of this JDBC API. Yes. So what we did here so far, is it clear for you people?
Yes.
Okay. Hope, yeah. So I hope everyone got it. Yes. So without hard coding, yeah, actually in the main method we are doing it, but the thing is this method is very much reusable. We didn't hard code in the query. We didn't do that. Okay. So you will find that when it comes to your advanced Java real-time applications, there you will get the data from other source. You see, from a form or from other user interface. Okay. So you don't have to bother about reading the data from the file. Generally, you won't do that as of now here. Okay. So what you will do, this method which we got here, this is very much reusable because we didn't hard code the data. Okay, we are not at all hard coding the data here. Yes. We're just dynamically passing a product object reference which contains the product details. So that method will read it and assign that values to the query. In this case, maybe you are saying that okay, we are creating object here, but don't worry. Soon, you see, in the web application development, we'll see how to take the input from the users and add it here. Okay. So this is very much without hard coding itself. That is what we did. Hope you got it, Saujanya. Are we hard coding the data in the query? Yes. Okay. So what is the problem with this delete or update query? We don't read it from the file. Don't worry about reading it from the file. You will read it. You will get the input from the end users in the web applications. You'll find it. Okay. So these methods are very much reusable. The values are not hard coded here. Okay. So I don't want you to worry about reading the data from the file now. Just try to understand these methods, and going forward, you will find that you will be using Hibernate framework and all such things. But as of now, I just want you to just understand that this is how you can read the data, and we can just add it. Okay, you are a QA tester. Yeah, the testing scenarios will be different. Okay, for testing purpose, I'll tell you. So we'll be using JUnit. So where you can take the values and I'll show you in the testing what to do. If you're talking about testing, the testing case will be different. Okay, so you'll be taking the data and the frameworks will load it. Most of the tools will load it, and you don't write the hard code the data. Yes, you don't have to hard code the data. Yes, anyway, even you won't write the code to read the data from the file. Tools will do that. Yes. Now we have this method which is very much reusable now. That is what I want you people to understand. Even if you want to delete a record, so what you will do in that case, so you will define a method, something like this. What you'll do, let's say you want to delete a record, delete product. But for deleting the record, we'll pass an ID. And here you see, you'll write a query this way, string delete query, delete from test.product, where product underscore ID equal to question mark. That's it. This is the query which you have to assign, execute. This is the query which you need to execute here. So you have a bind parameter in this query. Again, I'm not hard coding the data. Okay, I'm not hard coding the data here. So we are just using a bind parameter, which you can replace it with a value. You see that ID will be passed on. So each time you can pass a different value to delete a new record, delete a different record here. Yes. Now from here, you people know the code. You have to execute this query. So what are the steps which you will follow? Yes. The steps are very much similar to the steps which are written here. Yes. Let's try to recollect the steps. So what is the first thing you will do? To execute this query, insert delete query, what you will do? Okay, loading drivers here, establish the connection, and then
write a query, write a statement.
Prepared statement object. You have to create a prepared statement object. Yes. We'll pass this query. And then you'll assign the value to this bind parameter through the prepared statement object. So that input value is passed on to this method, which will take it and we will add it. Okay. Yes. So this way you'll write the code to delete the record. Now, most important thing, you see, what I would like to talk about here is about fetching the records. Now we saw deleting the records. If you want to add a new record, again you see, you can just change this values and call this add product method. Yes. Here, for fetching the record, first suppose I want to fetch a product record, not one. Let's say I want to fetch all the product records. So I would like to define a method for that. Let's say that method name is get products. So you see, this is very important. Get products. Now what this method does, it fetches all the product records from the database server, from the table, and it returns those records in appropriate Java format. I want this method, sorry, I want this method to return all the records in the appropriate Java format here. Yes. So what you do? So how will you represent this set of records in Java? What you'll do?
As an object.
As an object. Yes. So you have how many records? You see, in my table, database table, I have 71 records. You got 71 records. So each row or each record here, you have to represent it as a product object. If you have 71 records, how many product objects will create? 71 product objects. Each product object will hold one row data. Each product object will hold one row data.
You will make you will have to make an array list of a product object.
Very good. That's right. So we have a collection of objects. To handle this collection of objects, we'll go for collections. This is where we use collections for this purpose. So that means the return type of this method, it is supposed to be list of product objects. So this method is going to return a list of product objects here, I can say. So that is how you will represent the set of records which you got in this table on the Java side. That is how you will represent the set of records which you got here in this table on the Java side. You see, different applications, different languages, the way we represent the data also will be different. Yes. Okay. So later on we'll see some universal standard formats like XML, JSON, which are very helpful when different applications, heterogeneous applications wants to communicate with each other. Yeah, we'll do that. Just a minute, please. Give me 1 minute. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry. So now let's write this code to read the records and represent them accordingly here in Java. Okay, so this method will return that records. So for that, you see, first, loading drivers, as I told you people, it is optional nowadays. See, it's optional step now, so we don't have to explicitly load the drivers. And you see, the connection establishment code also is very much redundant in this methods. So I'll make you people understand how to improvise this code and all. Okay, now you see we have used the try with resources. Sorry, try with catch block, because most of the methods here in the try block they throw exceptions, checked exception. But we did discuss about try with resources block, if you remember. So and I'm hoping that you people are familiar with try with resources who didn't attend core Java classes, my core Java classes. So what is try with resources? Can someone answer this question? What is try with resources? Yes, try with resources. So we need not close the connection. Who will close the connection? Try with resources itself. So in try with resources, you'll find that we can declare the resources in the try block itself. And at the end of the try block, this resources, which were declared in the try block, will be closed. Connection object is a resource. So you can declare it in the try block and it will be closed as soon as the connection is, as soon as the try block ends. Okay, yes. At the end of the try block, the connection will be closed. You see, this is how you can write this code. I'll show you just a bit. Okay. So here, you see in this try block itself, this is try with resources. In the try block itself, you'll be writing this connection establishment code. So we are acquiring this resource. Connection object is a resource which we are acquiring here. And this resource will be closed when the try block ends. As soon as the try block ends, the resource will be closed. So we don't have to explicitly close this connection now. Okay, we don't need to bother about adding the finally block and all such things. Okay, fine. Next, we have to execute a query, right? So what is the query which we have to execute here? You see, a select query. Select star from test.product. You see, this query, it instructs that database server to return all the records which you got in the product table. Select star from test.product means, you see, this query, select query, it instructs the database server to return all the records which you got in the database server. Yes. Fine. So now we got this query. What's next? How will you execute this query? What are we supposed to do now? Yes. We need which object?
Need a product object.
We need no, we don't need a product object as of now. We need a prepared statement object. Right? In order to execute the query, what you need? A prepared statement object. Connection dot prepared statement. And we have to, not even prepared statement because we don't have any bind parameters now. I'll show you another type of statement object which you can use here. That is called as statement object. That's it. Connection dot create statement. Yes. Now this create statement method, so it is also used to execute the query. Yes. So you can obtain the statement object this way, and then you see you can execute this query. Here, this query is a select query. So previously we have executed a query that is a different query. It's a non-select query. Insert query, delete query, and update query. These three queries are considered as non-select queries. Okay, non-select queries. What are they? Insert, delete, and update. That's it. These are non-select queries. And you have select query. You see, whenever you want to execute non-select queries, remember you will use this execute update method. You will use execute update method. And if you want to execute a select query, you got select query, right? So to execute the select query, you will use execute query method. Basically, these methods are defined in the statement object. Both statement and prepared statement objects, you will find these queries here. Let me say yes. Okay. So now let's try to execute the query with execute query method. You have to pass this method query also, select query. So previously we saw that the execute update method, it returns an integer value, so which indicates the number of records updated as a result of executing the query, right? It indicates the number of records updated as a result of executing the query. Now what about this execute query method here? What it returns, you know, the execute query method, it actually returns a result set object. It returns a result set object which helps us to read the records which are fetched as a result of executing the query. Okay. So as a result of executing the query, whatever the records which you got, okay, in order to read the records, we can take the help of this result set object, I can say. Okay. Yes. So I'll take that result set object. It is also from java.sql package itself. Yes. Now we got the result set object, which helps us to read the records which we got as a result of executing the query. So, but we have to read the records and create product objects and in turn store them into a list. So we have to create that list here. Okay. Let me just create that list. Products. So I'll call it as products list. So I'm creating an array list object, you see, which will take this product objects. It will take the product objects here. So now we have to iterate through this list. Sorry, through the, you see, I'll write the code. Let me first write the code and then I'll explain it. Okay. The result set object will help us iterate through the records and read the data which is in that records. Yeah. Product dot set description, result set dot product underscore description. Okay, let me explain this code. Okay, I'll explain this code. Let's say, just assume that here as a result of executing the query, we got this records. Okay, as a result of executing the query, we got this records here. So now this result set object here, it helps us to read the records. How? Let's see. I'm using a while loop. We have multiple records, so we have to iterate through the records here, through each record, and read the data from that record, a row, and store it into product object. So we'll call next method here on the result set. You see, in the result set object, you got next method. When you call next method, what happens, I'll tell you. So initially, in the result set object, you will have a cursor. You'll have a cursor which is placed before the first record. Initially, you have a cursor which is placed before the first record here. You know, when you call next method, so the cursor will move to the first row in this case, and it will check whether there is any data. If at all, if there is any data, the next method returns true. Okay. Yes, the next method returns true. So if it returns true, the control enters into the loop. So we are creating a product object. And then you see, we have to read the data from this row, which is referred by this cursor. So as of now, cursor is referring to the first row. Now what you can do is here, you will be able to read the data from that first row, I can say. How can you read the data from the first row? You see, you can read the data column wise with the help of result set object. In the result set object, we got methods. So column wise, we can read the data. You see, to read that product ID column value, so this is what you will do. Okay, this is what you'll do. So here you will call this getInt method, which is defined in the result set object. Why getInt? Because the column value which you have to read here is integer type. Sorry, the column value here is integer type. So we'll use a getInt method. So again, you see, to read an appropriate value, you can use an appropriate method here. So getInt and pass that column name. That's it. So it reads that column value, that particular cell value, you can say. As of now, the cursor is referring to the first row. In that first row, we have this column product ID whose value we are reading. Again, you see, you have to read product name. Product name is string type, so I'll use getString method. So based on the type of value we have to read from the column, you'll choose an appropriate method here, I can say. Okay, so getString, and we are passing the column name. Similarly, getPrice. Similarly, product price here. So product price is what type? Product price is float type. So I'll use getFloat method. Product price is float type. So I'll use getFloat method here. You see, getFloat then product description. For that we are using getString method. And what we are doing by reading these values, in turn we are passing these values to the setter methods here of the product object. You see, each setter method is actually it is defined for a particular property. So set ID is for that ID property. So we'll read the value from that column. We'll read the value from that column and we'll assign the value to that column here. Yes. We'll assign the value to that column, to that property. We are reading the data from the product ID column and we are assigning it to this property ID. So set ID method is for that ID property. Next, similarly, we are reading the product name value from that column and we are assigning it to name property by calling the setter method. Same product price also we are doing the same. So this way we are reading the data from that row column wise. In turn, we are assigning the values to this product object properties, I can say. This way we are populating the data here into the product object. Yes. You know what? I can say that this is transformation code. This is what is called as transformation code. We are transforming that record into a row into an object. We are transforming that row or record into an object here, product object. Row data is stored into the object. Yes. Now, after you got this product object, you will add this object to the list this way. Okay, then once the data is populated into that object, we'll add it to the list here. That's it. This way, you see, this loop, how many times it iterates? It depends on the number of records. You see, after reading this row, again, what happens? The next method will be called. The next method will move the cursor to the next row, and the same process will be repeated. So a product object is created for the second row, and you see, you'll read the data from that row with the help of result set object, and then you'll populate it into the product object. And in turn, this product object, you'll add it to the list. Yeah. So this will continue. Now, how many times? It depends on the number of records which you got in the list. Yes. And once you're done reading the records, yes, you can close the result set. And you don't have to close the connection explicitly, right? Yeah. So you can just add a message if there is any issue. You can print it here. And then at last, what we have to do? Return the products list. Return the products list here. That's it. You see, this is the code which I've written here. You can check this code. So next here, we'll try to test this method. Okay, let's try to test this method here. How will you test this method? You have to call this method get products, and it returns the list of product objects here. Yes. Okay, I'm calling that method which returns list of product objects. So let's try to iterate through this list. Okay, I'm trying to iterate through this list using for each loop. So I'll display the details here like ID, product dot get ID, name, price, and description. Okay. So this way we'll iterate through that list. We are testing this method. Let's see. So now you got all the records here from the table. So is this clear for you people, all of you?
Yes.
So anyone got any questions? Let me know. Okay, good. I hope you people got it. So why we have to, convert these records into objects here again? What do you think? Why we are doing this?
If we need to use them anywhere else.
Yes. You see, we can just read the data and display it here itself, but it won't be of much use for us. So you see, now this method also is very much reusable. So wherever you need this product records, you can just call this method. It returns all the list of product records here, right? Yes. So that is how you can make use of this method, get products. Yeah. So now what if I want to fetch a single record, single product record? Now, I want you people to try this code. So I guess I have to provide you the driver details. So in the next class, I'll be talking about the drivers. So once we are done with the discussion of the drivers, you'll get more idea about this JDBC and how to use this JDBC API. So as you people said, you people are using different database servers. Um, you might be using different database servers, and not necessarily MySQL. You need not use MySQL. You wish whatever you want to use, you can go with it. If you want to use MySQL, that is also well and good. Okay, that is also a very good database server. So if you have any server already installed on your machine, you can continue working with the database server without any issues. I'll tell you how to connect with the database server. So in the next session, that is what I'm going to discuss. We'll talk about JDB. First of all, we'll be talking about JDBC drivers and how to obtain these drivers, how to work with these drivers. Okay. So from where to download these drivers and what changes you have to do to connect with different database servers. Yes, of course, you have to change the query, right? If you want to fetch a particular record, let's say based on the ID, will you people try that? Anyways, I'll show it in the next session. Meanwhile, you can give it a try. And I want you people to work with us with a schema. Okay, so I want to make you people work with the schema so that you'll be prepared to work with the Hibernate framework also. Just a minute, I'll tell you what is the schema. it is in my email. I'll do one thing. I'll mail you people, a website link where you will find a sample schema, okay, with set of tables in it, which helps you people to understand the tables, its associations, and how to query the database. Also, you can just brush up your skill, uh, querying skills also with that tutorial which you got in that website. Okay, yes. So I'll mail you people today. You can go through it, and I want everyone to create that schema in your database. Okay, you will have that sample schema. Code is also there. You can create that schema, add the record, and try to work with the SQL table. Okay, so it is a very good schema. Okay, which helps you people to work with the tables and all associations and all such things. Yes, fine. So I will be mailing you people those details, that schema details and all, that website link where you can refer, where you can find this schema details for practicing the skill. So if you have a MySQL, it is better. So generally it is based on MySQL. If you are using a different database server with slight changes, you should be able to use that schema in your database. Okay, yeah. Fine. So any questions? So I'll be adding this code to the Google Drive for reference purpose. Maybe today you may not be able to work with this because you still need JDBC driver details, which I didn't discuss. So I will be talking about it in the next session. Okay. Yes. So I'm just adding this JDBC project here to your Google Drive. Under the class exercises, you will find it. Yes, that is what I did. You have it in the Google Drive, Harsha. You can just check that. Object oriented also I did that. Collections also. Just a minute. Let me see. Let me just try doing this. Collections. Thread projects. Thread programming also. Yeah, done. Okay, fine. So I'll stop it here today, and tomorrow, as I told you people, from tomorrow onwards, the class starts at 6 a.m. Indian time. Please remember, okay? 6 a.m. Indian time. Yeah.
Sir, can you please share the recordings to me also?
Can you please just drop me a mail for which mail ID, because I'm not, you have got access to different folders, right? Especially you have access to different batches. So just drop me a mail so I'll check what. Yeah. Okay.
I already sent. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Let's meet tomorrow and we'll continue our discussion. Bye bye.